Hi, welcome to Ride Alongside. Today we're taking a look at the Lenz Sport Behemoth. Now this is a 29 plus bike that's got full suspension and pretty short chain stays. The one we're looking at today has 4 inches of travel, but they do make rockers that give the availability for 5 inches of travel. All right, so thanks for showing us your bike, Jeff. Why don't you tell us about how you came to purchase this bike and kind of what your history's been with your other bikes and where this fit into all that.
So I've been riding bikes, you know, every manner of bike that you can imagine. I first got into a 29 plus at a Krampus.
Oh yeah.
To get my feet wet on it and see if I liked it or not. Had the Krampus. Then I got a Bear Grease, which was set up as a 29 plus. Fabulous bike, but I wanted a little squish. I got a kind of a bad back, so heard about Lenz, did a little research, and then got lucky enough to find one. And couldn't be happier with it. Absolutely amazing bike.
Nice. So I see some components that are pretty familiar to me. I see the Bontrager Chupacabra on the rear, and I see a Maxxis Chronicle up front. Can you tell us some of the highlights of the rest of the build?
Okay, on it we have the Hope Pro 4 hubs, which are, in my opinion, one of the best hubs you can buy for the money.
Yeah.
Extremely quick engagement. You know, the ratcheting, they don't blow up. They're very serviceable. You can get new end caps if you want to flex back and forth between boost or non-boost. This is boost set up as it is. Yep. So it's a 148 back. I got an XTR drivetrain. XT brakes, because in my opinion XT brakes are stronger than XTR, and if you're not petite like me, a little strength helps quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I got the Boo Bar. Aluminum bars are indestructible. It's actually a downhill bar. Yep. All in all, the bike is pretty much indestructible. It's extremely overbuilt from Lenz itself. Bottom bracket area there, you can see on the head tube, it's a burly bike. Like Nick said, it's a monster truck that you pedal. So, and with the tires, you can't beat a Chupacabra in my opinion. It grips the best for the rear, and I like the Maxxis in the front. It's a little bit more of a rounded profile, so you get a little bit better carving. And the Chupacabra in the front kind of pushed to me too much, so that's why I went with the Maxxis. I think it's a little bit better of a tire. Okay,
and it looks like you have a 11-speed XTR drivetrain on.
1x11. Yep. Got the
30 tooth up front on the race face.
Yeah, I got a 30 front, 1142 back.
Okay.
And with that gearing, if you can pretty much conquer anything. Yeah. You know, as you can see behind, well, maybe not in the camera, but up the mountaintop, you can get up there, no sweat, and it certainly makes the climb up when you go down, because that if you guys haven't ridden a 29 plus nor a suspension, it erases any mistakes you may make as a rider. You pretty much don't worry about it and just go.
It does give you a lot of leeway, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Ruts are a non-entity.
Yeah. Well, watching you today riding some of these technical trails, I was pretty impressed with how easily you rolled over those, both climbing and descending on this bike. And when I rode it, I told you, I was surprised that it was as nimble as it was.
Yeah, it is. It's surprisingly nimble, and it climbs like, if you got the horsepower, it'll climb anything. And the thing I really like about it, the front end doesn't come up. I call it rodeo. Like on a lot of bikes, you'll climb steep stuff and the front end comes up. This does none of that. Right. And granted, it's heavier, but it climbs anything. I say, if you have the balance and the horsepower, you'll go up anything you want.
Yeah. Speaking of weight, do you know what it weighs right now?
It's roughly 31 pounds, maybe a little bit over. Okay. I had carbon rims on it, so it was a little bit lighter before, but these are WTB rims. Yep. Okay. On it now. I went with a little bit more burly strength because it's a 29 plus. I don't, saving a few ounces isn't really that necessary. The bike, if you're a 140-pound rider who wants finesse, is probably not the best bike for you. If you're a guy who likes to ride and have fun, that's much more what it is. And so you go into that knowing that it is not a finesse bike per se.
Right.
You can finesse it, but it's not a cross-country race bike by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. So you've had pivot full suspensions, you've had Salsa Bear Grease setup 29 plus,
Yeah.
you've had the Krampus 29 plus. What type of rider would you steer towards this bike, and which type of rider would you steer away from this bike? You already said like a 140-pound rider who's looking for a real finesse kind of rig, you'd steer them away from this bike?
Yeah, I think this someone who, you know, your desires and where you ride varies, because the bike is capable enough on rocky terrain like this. You know, you can go in sandy washes, like in Penasquitos Canyon, you hit some sandy washes, it goes right over everything. Where if you're on like a 2.2 tire, you're gonna sink. This just floats over it. That would be, you know, they're very popular in Arizona. Yep. Where you're getting into sandy washes and stuff like that. That's actually the first place I saw one, is in Scottsdale. A guy had a 29 plus bike out there he was riding, and that was what first tickled my interest in it. You know, and you know, obviously any loamy, you know, you could, Noble Canyon would be probably ideal. Anywhere where you have rocky obstacles where you just need traction and you're not, you know, you're not flying, you're just cruising. It's all day. And I had another set of rims for it, so you can be versatile. I had a set of tires with 29 regular 29 2.3s. Yeah. And it totally changed the character of the bike. You know, it's going to steer quicker and whatnot. So you can have two sets of rims and you have two bikes, essentially, you know, because the bike was totally different with the other tires on it. So that's actually was one of the other convenient things about the bike. I could just, you know, if I felt like I knew I was going to do a cross country type ride, I could just put the other tires on and I could ride 30, 40 miles and not be winded. So Jeff, one of the other things that you mentioned when we were talking earlier was that there isn't a whole lot of clearance between the 3-inch tire in the back and the frame down by the bottom. Yeah, the chainstay yoke, Yeah, so maybe riders that live in really muddy conditions or plan to ride mud a whole bunch, that might not be a especially great bike for them, or they might wanna... You could put you could get a 2.5 or a 2.3 or something on the back, and then you're perfectly, because I know guys who have done that, because there is, I mean, it's maybe a 1/4 inch from the front of the tire. This is a fairly rounded tire too. So you know, some of the, I think who is it, WTB makes one that it says it's 3.0, but it's 2.8. Yeah. So, you know, their tire carcasses obviously change, but if you got a little bit smaller tire, that would eliminate the mud clearance problem for, you know, East Coast riding or even Seattle Northwest type riding where you're riding in a lot of goop. Yeah. Well, I can tell you that the Chupacabra does measure true. That is a true 3-inch wide tire, and it fits on there just perfect. I was riding it around, it wasn't buzzing anything, whereas on a lot of bikes you are going to see that interface where a true 3.0 tire is going to, you know, if it's bending on the rim or anything like that, you are going to have some buzz with on the seat stays or chain stays. Yeah, so I think it's an amazing bike. I'm really pleased to see one in person. I think whoever buys this bike is going to be stoked on it. Any other thoughts that you have, Jeff? No, just like I say, anybody, you know, if you've not ridden one, I mean, they're hard to find. They're kind of like hen's teeth. They're fairly rare, but that's part of the appeal of the bike. The company stands behind it. I called them and asked them about it. They knew the guy who remembered building that exact bike. So the company stands behind what they do. You know, good guys when I call them for questions. It's a great bike. I will miss it. I can guarantee you that. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, so that's the Lenz Sport Behemoth, a 29 plus 4-inch travel bike. And I'm so thankful to Jeff for telling us all about his bike. And if you're interested in this bike, this exact bike is actually for sale right now. Jeff's decided to put it up for sale, and he's got to thin the herd. So he's asking $3,500 for it. And you can check in the description below to find the link to the pink bike listing that he has it for. And if you found this video helpful, please click the subscribe button, and then next to the subscribe button there's the bell. Click the bell and you'll get every notification for when I upload videos. And I'm Nick from Ride Alongside. Thanks so much for watching. I'll have more content for you real soon.